It's a pretty common thing in gaming to be presented with a person who isn't really into it and wants to get into it, but they don't know where to start. And it's also a common thing for a gamer to start them off too quickly with something that they just won't understand or something that's a little too tough on them. But after replaying the first Portal last week, I came to the realization that this is probably the most perfect introduction to video games that I can think of. Portal is a first-person puzzle game developed by Valve and released as part of the Orange Box collection in 2007, before being released as a standalone shortly afterwards. The game was designed to be a short little goodie to stand alongside Half-Life 2 and Team Fortress 2, and apparently it didn't have any narrative until late in development, so the team could focus on making the gameplay as good as it can be. But interestingly enough, I think the narrative that was later added became one of my favorite parts of the game. You play as a girl in a strange science facility, being walked through a series of tasks by a computer named GLaDOS, who's promising you cake once you finish them all. None of the puzzles are too tough once they're introduced, and the game does a great job of establishing the rules of the universe without making you feel like it doesn't have faith in you. It doesn't hold your hand, but it also doesn't need to. One of the worst aspects of a lot of games nowadays is the extensive tutorials you have to go through. But Portal, on the other hand, trusts that if it gives you a little bit of information, you'll have the brain power to figure out the rest on your own. It also incorporates things that you don't see in a lot of other first-person games, like a heavy emphasis on physics and movement speed, jump trajectories, things of that nature. I assume a lot of this was initially put in the game to try and show off the power of the Source engine, but it was done in a way that is genuinely interesting and easy to wrap your head around. The story of Portal is very simple. You're in a testing facility, you're being led through some experience, the computers running the show are kind of sketchy, and eventually you start trying to escape. In terms of a story, it's really nothing special, but what sells it is the writing. The simplest stories are usually the perfect place for some great humor or self-aware dialogue, and Portal has plenty of that.
The Enrichment Center promises to always provide a safe testing environment. In dangerous testing environments, the Enrichment Center promises to always provide useful advice. For instance, the floor here will kill you. Try to avoid it.
Humor is usually the best way to win over a non-gamer because it's universal. It doesn't matter who you are, you're going to be more easily won over by something if it can make you laugh. One of the biggest problems I have with comedic video games is how much they often rely on either being too over the top and ridiculous, or they just reference other games, which is a problem I have with most modern comedy movies as well. But Portal's humor is a lot simpler, it's more subtle. It's very deadpan and pretty dark at times, but that's the charm of it all. I've played through the game multiple times, and it's always made me laugh, and that brings me to another point. Portal is a very short game. From beginning to end, you'll be done with it in about 2.5 hours. The pace never slows down, and it's not like other games where you'll be really engaged but then have to force yourself through it for a while until it picks up speed again. Valve knew what they had to offer, and they put it together in a nice short package. I think one thing that turns a lot of non-gamers off to more serious games is the length. You'll be hard-pressed to find a video game campaign that's less than 6 hours nowadays. And oftentimes they have what I mentioned earlier, annoying tutorials or really hand-holding moments that kind of take you out of it. But Portal wastes no time in getting you interested in the story, understanding the world you're in, and giving you simple enough objectives that are solved quickly to keep you going, but still making you feel satisfied to keep you wanting more. Few games can really make you feel like you accomplished something nowadays, but Portal still does it. And that mainly comes from what I said earlier about the game not holding your hand through it. It tells you the rules and it trusts you to figure out the rest on your own. And that feeling of satisfaction, like you were the one who figured it out, will keep you going from room to room without any slowing down. Distribution is also a big reason why I think Portal is the perfect introduction to gaming. Right now, it can be hard for a non-gamer to get really into gaming without dropping some money into a console or PC parts. And the only games that are available to everyone from their phone or web browser are usually really casual games or full of micropayments. You know, your Candy Crushes and whatnot. But Portal is available on just about every platform. It can run on basically any computer since it's more than a decade old at this point. And you can download it off Steam for just $10, assuming it's not on sale, and it usually is on sale. It's even been released on Android, although I'd recommend getting a real console or PC version of it for the full experience. There's very little barrier to entry for Portal, and that's a huge contributor to it being great for beginning gamers. Portal is an excellent game, and I may have let my love for it ramble on a bit in this video, but I honestly believe that when it comes to getting a non-gamer into video games, Portal is a great place to start. It's short, but it's also engaging from start to finish. It's simple, but it's not easy. It's challenging, but extremely rewarding. It has funny characters and great world building. It can be played on pretty much any computer and has a small price tag. And I didn't mention this earlier, but it has excellent sound design and a great soundtrack. Portal really is one of the best starting games for non-gamers, and the only downside I can think of is that it's going to set the bar really high for whatever they play next.